coming to you from the My Little Falls studio here in beautiful Little Falls, New York. It's your host, Scott Kinville, and another episode of Marty's Illegal Stick.
Hey, what's up, hockey fans, and welcome to episode number 27 of Marty's Illegal Stick, recorded here in the My Little Falls studio on May 25th, 2021. 27, man, we're getting old. Oh, somebody's got
I hear phones ringing.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
All right. Anyways, that notwithstanding.
I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
I think that's me.
What?
I redialed.
Dave, did you send us to your voicemail?
Did you redial? I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, welcome to episode number 27 of Marty's Illegal Stick, the most unique introduction we've ever had. And anyways, I'm Scott Kinville, and we have got a very special guest lined up for today. We've got a view from the referees. So I want to get to that in just a second. But first, I'm going to bring in our all-star panel. First and foremost, as always, riding shotgun with me here right next to me, my father, Mr. Leo Kinville. What's going on?
Oh, hello, Scott. I just want to say happy anniversary to you and Christy.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
It was very nice that you had at least a couple of years anyway.
I'm just happy she hasn't put me in a dumpster yet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm happy for.
Well, we talked earlier.
Yeah, I know. I know. I heard already. So, we're episode number 27, and that's the number you wore when you played hockey, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, when I was in goal, it was number 1.
Right.
When on the wing, I was 27. Yes.
All right. So, and we've been talking about nicknames. And you did have a nickname when you played hockey, didn't you?
Gump.
Yeah, so there we go.
Gump.
So from now on, he is Leo the Gump.
Yeah.
Oh, Gump. I thought you said Gump.
He's got the
I was like,
yeah, Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I just say, okay.
It's like a box of chocolates. You know?
Yeah. And that other voice you hear is our producer, Dave the Save Warner, having his usual fun at all of our expense. How you doing, pal?
Absolutely. I'm doing great.
All right, good. Well, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode.
I hope so.
And joining us out there in internet land, first of all, one of our usual co-hosts by now. He's been doing a fantastic job with us, and he's on Cloud 9 today, folks. It's the one, the only, the doctor of hockey, Dr. Keith Levatino. What's happening, Keith?
Not much. Happy anniversary, too. I had a good time today talking to your wife about it. I saw her in the hall at school, and something about you guys were out to dinner, and you're texting me about the Islanders, which made me feel really good.
Hey, what are friends for?
But we won't go into it. She was working hard as usual.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad you kept her working hard. That's good. Don't let her slack. And don't tell her I said that either. She doesn't want to. So.
I was going to say that anniversary is over.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many years has it been?
It ended at 12.
No, it's the code. But I am flying high. Definitely flying high.
Oh, and we'll get to talk about that a little bit later on. Don't you worry. And our last co-host, who has also become a regular on our show, the Professor, Jeremy Roberts. What's happening, pal?
Nothing much, Scotty. Happy anniversary as well.
He loves that nickname, doesn't he?
He does. And we noticed there's
So
a little different the decorum behind him today.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh. We won't talk about that.
Nah, we'll wait till we have Dal on again.
That's the only time we can talk about that.
Neon lights on its way.
Yeah, right.
Yes, the neon light is going to be ordered.
Oh, man. And I want to bring in our guest. Our guest has been a referee for years. He refereed in the Western Hockey League, which is a junior league in Canada. I want to bring in Mr. Brian Mack. Brian, how are you?
Hey, Scott. Good to be here. Great. Feeling great.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. So what's been going on? Anything?
Well, just working, kind of get through the COVID pandemic, and, it's, been kind of a crazy year. Well, I gained too many Corona pounds. I know that.
Now, is that Corona beer or coronavirus?
Well, I kind of be discreet.
Yeah, right. Oh, so let's dive right in head first here. So tell us, how did you get started in hockey?
I have to give credit to my mom. And I know pretty much all of you guys are from New York. Is that correct?
That's correct. Upstate New York.
Yeah, and I grew up on Long Island, south of you guys, I'm sure. And, actually, I was born there. And my mom kind of got me into skating when I was, I don't know, awfully young. It was like 6 or 7 years old. And she got me a pair of figure skates. She very much enjoyed figure skating, and she thought, what a sport for me to get involved in, or if I could learn how to skate. But I had other ideas when I watched my first NHL game at the age of 9. I was watching Toronto play Chicago, the original 6. And I pretty much decided that's what I wanted to do on the ice. I wanted to play hockey.
Very cool. Very cool. And
over the years, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, you didn't really, but I think that was at the end of my sentence. But okay. But over the years, I just could remember, there no ice on Long Island until I was probably peewee to Banner's Caniac Park, which is out by Westbury on Long Island. And so I started playing on teams out there. And one night I got invited to play on a men's team at Caniac. And at 15, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. These guys are probably going to kill me. And they were all pretty big, intimidating people. And so I decided I'd do it. And, well, the referee in that game after a while got so out of hand, he quit. He just skated off the ice and quit. And the guys on playing on, they said, nah, you have to. And I'm like, wow, how am I going to do that? I don't know how to be a referee. I've watched referees work, watching the Rangers play on TV and things like that. But I really didn't think I do a good enough job. I said, well, what about fights or stuff like that? And they said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. And that was pretty much how I refereed my first game, just doing that. And I swore I'd never do it again.
And there you were.
Unfortunately, that didn't work.
Well, you do have a kindred spirit there in the doctor of hockey. He's a fellow Long Islander himself. That's how he got to be an Islander fan, right, Keith?
Absolutely. From watching the Coliseum being built, that's how it all started.
Yep.
But you did hear him say that he watched the Rangers.
Yeah,
he watched the real New York team.
I picked up on that also, buddy.
There were Islanders. There were no Islanders back then.
So this is pre-1972 then.
I go say, is there Islanders now?
Oh,
yeah.
I think Islander fans might have something to say about that.
You'd get along with my brother very well because he was an Islander fan, so he still is. As a matter of fact, I talked to him last night. The great of Texas, and he was talking about his Islanders winning last night, and I was happy for him. I just told him he had to cheer for my Maple Leafs tonight.
Oh, so you're a Leafs fan. Very interesting. So how does somebody who lived on Long Island become a Maple Leafs fan?
That's a good question. I really don't know. It's like things in life we're attracted to, and we don't know why. A lot of times we marry them.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, boy. At least I don't feel so lonely anymore about being in the marriage doghouse.
It was my anniversary too, buddy.
That's right, it was. Happy anniversary. Must be great minds think alike, right? That's great. That is great. So that's basically where you got your start in refereeing. So how did you end up going to the Western Hockey League, and when did that start?
Oh, gosh. Well, it actually started I actually heard when I was in the old hockey league, national minor league, the NHL, AHL is now. And then in like 1971 or two, or no, not wasn't that soon, like 1976 or 77, the Western Hockey League became the major junior league for Canadian hockey. And the politics that went on during that time were unbelievable between A-House, which everybody knows as USA Hockey now, and the NHL, and they coordinated with the junior leagues. And it was kind of like the USA Hockey was saying, if you don't use our referees for the USA games, we're not going to allow you into the country, your franchises. So these were kind of like the deals that were going on, and bad blood going on between USA Hockey and Canada Hockey. But I decided after getting hurt in the Western Hockey League for my cup of coffee in that league, that I decided to, once I healed up, I wanted to stay in the game. Be back on something you like. So I decided, well, I may as well be the bad guy and put on the stripes and give it a shot. And I went to referee school and dealing in Calgary, Alberta. And I met Brian Lewis and Swede Knox, who recently passed away, and other guys up there. That Dan Maroelli was one of my instructors. And the one thing that they told us in this school was the difference between you and an NHL referee is about 1%. And I remember hearing the same thing when I played. The difference between you and a Western Hockey League player or an NHL player is a difference about 1 or 2%. And it has to do with not just size and strength, but it has to do with hockey intelligence. Your hockey IQ, they call it now. So I decided to give it a shot. I gave it a shot. I had to go hard on my edges and learn how to skate the way referees skate. Words I didn't have in my hand anymore. And I had to learn where players hold their hands and how to keep your vision on the goal line. A player will always show his intentions by where he has his hands in relation to his body. And that's how you can tell, hey, a penalty is about to happen and I better watch. And that was just a lot of little things you learned in these schools that I went to. And then eventually I got hired by the Western Hockey League. Who could have, thought that, really?
Yeah, right.
It was just something I think I was dared. It was great. I love it. I love the crowds. I love players. Yeah.
And Jeremy, that's something we're gonna have to remember in our beer league. Now we gotta watch our hands.
I've gotten tricks from my ex-father-in-law that there's things that I do. There's things that I pull off. I mean, there's things that just, and guys will yell at me all the time. I'll be in the crease or like battling in front, and he'll try to overstick mine, and I'll just take my hand with my stick and grab the other stick with my hand and just hang on both sticks. And he's like, my stick's not moving. He's hanging on to my stick, and I'm going, I'm not hanging on to anything, but I am hanging onto a stick.
But Brian would catch that though.
You'd be surprised. I mean, look at what we're watching right now, playoffs and everything. And it's kind of like, okay, we just played the regular season in this abbreviated schedule. And we called our rule book, and we called it by the book pretty much throughout the entire season. Then we come upon the Stanley Cup tournament, and we adhere to that rule book. And that's why you see all the codes getting, they're on in print and the TV. Hey, how can you just change gears and not call the penalties you called during the regular season. And, it's not just the Maple Leafs yelling, it's the Islanders. I have sorry, man, but I don't. I thought what Ovechkin did the other night, yelling at his goaltender, was ridiculous for a captain to do. But
absolutely,
I don't want to dish on the Capitals that much. Yeah.
Well, everybody seems to be taking their shots at him after Boston eliminated him. So,
my brother even told me last night. We were talking. He says, this is one series that I was actually rooting for the Bruins, and I said actually I had to root for them as well. I'm not really a Bruin fan at all. No. Play with a guy that played for the Bruins. I just can't. I can't like him.
Well, that had to be really tough being a Maple Leaf fan rooting for the Bruins, huh?
Yeah, especially what's gone on the last years. The one and done playoff seasons and things like that. Those are they're hard to live with, and hopefully we get over the hump with Montreal. But they got carried in goal, and you can't count that guy out.
That's what I said earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carey Price, once he gets on fire, you don't know what you're going to get with him.
That's right. And, Montreal can actually score this year, too.
And it's not like he's been playing bad.
Right.
I mean, he played pretty well last night, I thought. I was trying to figure out who's going to score for Toronto tonight.
Right.
Well, Nylander, that guy's a goal-a-game guy, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was a pretty goal he scored, too. That really was. So, Brian, when you were in the Western Hockey League and you were officiating, what were some of the NHLers that were coming up that you actually got to referee?
Oh, gosh. Well, there's the horror story of Craig Berube. Hockey people have – I know people have watched slap hockey people, and what that scene where the towel boy comes through the locker room and he says, Oglethorpe is suspended, and everybody went high-fiving or cheering and stuff like that. Well, the exact same thing happened in Portland where New Westminster was in town, and the stick boy came through the referee's room and says, Berube's been suspended, and we all high-fived. It was great. We hang on because he was a beast. But some of the other, I saw some great players come through, like Craig Berube. Well, he's a great player, but better coach, I think. Cam Neely. Who's now the GM, I think, the Bruins. Ed Marsh he got a Stanley Cup with the Avalanche. Robbie Brown, he played for Pittsburgh for a while. They were pretty good officials to work. The first black referee to ever referee an NHL game, Jay Shars. He started out as a linesman in the Western Hockey League, went on to be a linesman in the NHL, and then they moved him up to referee. And the guy is the strongest human being I've ever met in my life. Wow, he could break up fights. I always laughed when I saw him. But, Nick Magoo, a couple of years ago, I was sad to see him so young. He was basically in the eastern half of the Western League. I was domiciled in the western part, and I saw a lot of more Western games than I saw Eastern games. But, when you hear all the great things about players like Joe Sakic and people like that, you see yourself, boy, I was there when they were developing into an NHL player. I didn't have anything to do with them getting to that point, but I sure as heck enjoyed being that close and involved in the game that they were in.
Yeah, that's really something, being able to see them develop and become the stars that they were, and you can just there say, "Hey, I knew them back when," So tell me, in that old Western League, what were some of
Well,
your favorite cities to go to?
Oh gosh. Well, Portland, where I was domiciled north Portland, so I really enjoyed the atmosphere. It was more like an NHL game, as far as selling out every night, like over 10,000 fans. If that doesn't get your heart beaten, I don't know what will. And they're all crazy fans, and I enjoyed that. I like going to Seattle. It was a smaller venue, but the fans seem to be a little unhinged at times. It's the only game where I ever stands. I like Spokane. I like Tri-Cities. That's where I really have a lot of good memories of those buildings, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun going around to all the buildings. We didn't usually cross the border into Canada because that was kind of like a no-no,
Right.
It was okay for Canadian officials to move down. They didn't want us coming up there because they, as customs would tell us, it was taking away Canadian jobs is what explained to us.
That's interesting. So you're living out in Washington State now, too. You guys ready for the Kraken or what?
Well, I'm kind of wondering why they would, how crazy Seattle. Well, you have to visit Seattle in order to understand where they come up with a mythical creature called to be low and A. I mean, it is beyond nuts to me, but okay. I'm cheering for a plant or a tree, but a Kraken, come on. But I am excited to see who they get in the draft. What I'm really excited about, I'm excited about this draft kind of being like the one Las Vegas had, where they get the pick of the litter of every team and go to the final in their first season.
Yep.
That is crazy. That is.
Well, I'll tell you, though, I think there's going to be a lot of GMs that learned their lesson from the Vegas draft. I think so.
Like lock up their players now.
Scott, you are so right. Yeah. But you are so right there. I can't all learn a lesson, right? What do we do? Can we give him, Fleury again? Or, gosh.
Yeah, give them a draft pick to take Fleury. I mean, that's a great idea.
And Toronto trying to figure out who's going to protect.
So, Brian, when you got done with the
he's another lights out goaltender like Carey Price.
Right. Well, that's true, but I mean, I don't know. If you look at what Pittsburgh was, the situation they were in at the time, it was either him or Matt Murray, and Matt Murray had just won his second Stanley Cup, so it's kind of hard, right? I mean, but I guess in hindsight, they should have kept Fleury.
That's true, because now,
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, so
I
after
don't play in the NHL.
Yeah, definitely. So when you got done with the Western League, you went into Roller Hockey International. How did that come about?
Oh, I'm out on my back deck. At the time, I was living in Vancouver, and my phone rings. My wife had a baby, and we're with afternoon eating baby chores and stuff. And she says, "Hey, there's a guy on the phone that wants to talk." I said, "What's his name?" She said, "His name is Ralph Backstrom." Oh, really? Yeah, okay. And I'm the tooth fairy, so I pick up the phone and he says, "This is Ralph Backstrom." And I said, "Ralph Backstrom from Chicago Blackhawk, Monty." name? Go down the list on that guy, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm Ralph Backstrom. And I said, oh, why are you calling me? He says, we got a new league that we're putting together with this guy named Murphy. And he says, it's Roller Hockey International. And I said, great. He says, I got a tryout in Eugene, Oregon. If you can make it there on Wednesday night, I got Calgary, I can't remember, the Calgary Rads or something like that are coming in to play Portland. Try out for the team as well. And so I went down. I said, yeah, sure, Ralph, I'll come down there. And he says, well, look me up when you get in the arena. So I go down there and I get my gear, and I on the way down there, I stopped at a Portland skate shop and bought a pair of rollerblades, and they were just junk. And so I'm on the floor, and I started a fifth game between Calgary and Portland, and I got the job. And it seemed like Ralph didn't really have confidence in people, because he called me before every game that I was on the schedule. He'd say, now you're going to be there, right? You're going to be there, right? And I was like, yeah, man. I mean, I signed the contract, right? But Roller Hockey International was probably one of the craziest things I think I've ever done. Learning to stop was fun. If you couldn't use your back stopper on those skates, you had to remove it because the players would make fun of you. So we had to learn how to stop. So I went to training camps with Rage, and then I went to Calgary. I went to their training camp, and I learned how to use my rollerblades. In other words, be able to do a hockey stop and be able to turn and skate fast. Because roller was one of the fastest games I think I've ever officiated. There was only one line, and that was the center line. You had referees and one linesman. And what the linesman did was basically nothing, except break up fights and things like that. It was definitely a crazy, crazy game. There were some nights when I was saying, man, I should have made up my will before I came out here tonight. It was that bad. But then again, those were ideas. Those ideas came through my head during the Western Hockey League. I had a game one night where Spokane was playing Portland. We had a guy by the name of Sean Clouston on the Portland team, and I can't remember the Spokane guy's name, but they start throwing him right at the bench because, at line change, toss each other in the second period. And sure enough, Clouston was beating the tar out of this kid. And what I didn't know was that he broke a blood vessel in this guy's nose, and he was bleeding all over my black and white striped shirt. And I'm not kidding you. It was when I got to the locker room later on, I couldn't believe you couldn't tell between black on the too much blood. So my wife was in there. It was my wife at the time, but she had to leave because she thought I was hurt. And that was one night that I'd like her to, because my partner basically left me with these two gorillas trying to kill each other, skated behind the visiting goalkeeper's goal and started drinking from his water bottle. And he basically had a something, So, that was the night that I thought, okay, I got to write the will out now, But Roller Hockey International was a great experience. I just got to tell you that. It was a great experience. I liked meeting Ralph, but then, I read some things about him. But I'm sorry he's gone. He passed away last year. I thought he was a pretty decent guy.
Oh, I'm still picturing that other referee skating away from you going, oh, that's okay, Brian. You got this. Don't worry. Thanks, pal.
Okay. I gotta expand on that a little bit. This guy was from Czechoslovakia. He defected from Czechoslovakia because it was still in the communist, behind the Iron Curtain at the time. He defected in 1981 from Czechoslovakia, and his English wasn't very good, and they were very good referees technically, but they didn't pick up fights because they didn't have any. And when he saw the blood all over me and the other guy, and he just freaked. He had a definite freak attack. So he's still a friend of mine. He moved back to Czechoslovakia. I hope he's very happy there. But, you know, he wasn't really made for American, Canadian, North American hockey, really, you know. I still communicate with him on Facebook. And, yeah, that was the craziest night, I think. And it's still being used as a training film for new Western Hockey League referees, was that particular fight. And that's something I didn't want to have on my resume, really. Because I'm part of a training film on to do.
Yeah, but hey, you got your 15 minutes of fame now, right?
It's more like 15, 20 years of fame.
So you're still
I have
involved
a
with the
picture
game?
on my wall behind me of the very thing. Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I still have a picture on my wall of that night, and you can see the blood on the sleeve of my uniform, and I obviously hadn't made it back to the dressing room. So I could. What I did was I soaked my shirt in cold water, and then back on soaking wet after I wrung it out. Back out there. Period. So, and rodeos, you know, you get one fight, then you get another, then you get a line brawl, and next thing you know, you got a bench clearing brawl, which we don't see anymore, really, right? And I remember one night Prince Albert come to town, and the first thing they want to do is fight, all except Mike Modano. Mike Modano didn't come out and fight with the rest of the team, but he was a skill guy. So, yeah, crazy nights.
Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Are you still involved with the game at all, or do you kind of just sit back and take it all in now?
No, I'm basically an observer. I was a referee, instructor, supervisor after the Western Hockey League. Help young kids get into the game. You know, try to show them how to do it the right way. You know, where to be, where to hold, you know, where to look. Make sure you know the rule book better than the coaches, because when they know the rule book, you are really at a serious disadvantage when it comes to talking to coaches. Of course, parents are talking to them, you know. Yeah. So, but I do watch a lot. But I just turned 70, so I mean, how many more miles do I get in this body?
Well, I'm sure you could still break up a fight or two. I got faith in you.
Yeah, I have my doubts, but you know, I still work, you know, and things like that. So I got a job at a local college here teaching, and I'm happy doing that.
Yeah, it looks like you're involved in some emergency services as well, right?
Well, I spent 20 years as a firefighter EMT here in Washington State, and went to the National Fire Academy in Pennsylvania, and I graduated in 2002. And now I teach fire science at Lower Columbia College, Washington, and it's much easier on my body than anything else I've done throughout my life. So I kind of treat it as like a little vacation when I go to work every day. Nobody's going to try to punch me. And well, I'm sure students have a different idea, but yeah, I like doing that. So
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, Brian, we're going to wrap this segment up, but you are more than welcome to stick around for the rest of the show and put your input in on what we've got to say in round 2 here. If you want to stick around?
I'd be glad to.
All right. Excellent. So what we're going to do, like we always do, is to close out segment 1, we're going to have our breakaway trivia question. And our breakaway trivia question, and I love it, Gump over here is getting excited already. Our breakaway trivia question this week is, what individual player has won the most Stanley Cups? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of Little Falls, New York. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, and our events calendar. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling stories about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of local residents and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
And we're back with segment 2 of Marty's Illegal Stick Hockey Hot Takes. And to start this segment, like we always do, we're going to have the answer to our breakaway trivia question. I'm going to give you that question one more time, just so you can take it all in. What individual player has won the most Stanley Cups? I'm looking at you and I'm thinking Gumper. So Gumper, wow, we're batting 1,000 on this show today, I tell you.
This has been rough.
Yeah, it is. What do you think?
Well, I'm going back to the time when the Canadians won an awful lot of Stanley Cups. I'm going to go with Jean Bellevue.
Okay. Doctor of Hockey, Keith Levatino, who you got?
Well, I'm going to stick with the Canadians too, and I'm going to say Maurice Richard.
Okay.
The Rocket, yeah.
The Professor, Jeremy Roberts. What do you got?
You know,
brother?
it's gotta be a Canadian. It has to be. I mean, they've won how many cups in their history? It's going to be well before my time, and I'm going to go with Jacques Lemaire.
Jacques Lemaire. Okay. Brian, do you have a guess as to what individual has won the most Stanley Cups?
Well, I don't want to break the mold here, so I'm going to stick with the Canadians as well. And I'm going to get Henri Richard.
Wow. The newcomer wins. It was Henri Richard, the Pocket Rocket. Do you know how many he won?
Can I say 9?
It was close. He won 11. Imagine that, 11 Stanley Cup rings. He doesn't.
Wow.
He can't even put them all on his hands.
Incredible.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. But no, those are all very good guesses. You guys were all in the ballpark anyway. So
Lost again.
That's okay.
At least you were in the ballpark, though.
I know, right?
2 weeks in a row.
You were close.
Had the right team. It's
right era.
2 weeks in a row. I had
you're
Danny Bauer.
Listen, you are the Rocky Balboa of breakaway trivia, and I got faith in you that someday we're going to have a trivia montage for you training for this, and you're going to get it right.
You better get that referee out here because we're going to have another fight the minute here.
Brian, we've had blood in the studio before. All right.
Actually, you might want to get that Czechoslovakian referee back here.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy. So, anyways, the NHL playoffs are in full swing, and we've had surprises already. The Blues, the Oilers, and the Caps have been eliminated, while the number 1 seed in the East Division, the Pittsburgh Penguins, are on the brink against the New York Islanders. Meanwhile, in the Central Division, the number 4 seeded Nashville Predators have come back to tie their series with the number 1 seed Carolina Hurricanes with 2 consecutive double overtime wins. So I'm going to go around the table here, and I want you guys to tell me which surprise so far is the biggest one. Keith, we'll go with you first.
I'd have to say Winnipeg sweeping Edmonton. Not that they won the series, but sweeping them, I would not have predicted that. No doubt about it.
That's a great call. I didn't even list that one, and that's just unbelievable what they did.
Yeah.
And you know what the amazing part about it is just how badly Winnipeg was playing going into the playoffs, and to just turn around and shut that Edmonton team down the way they did was absolutely incredible.
Well, that's what they were saying.
Well, and last night's game was that triple overtime. Were there other games that went into overtime? I didn't follow it.
Last night?
No. In general, like were games 1, 2, or 3? Did any of them go in?
Didn't game 3 go to overtime? I think as well. I think that would end quick though.
Yes,
yeah,
it ended quick. It ended quick.
Yeah. So think about that. Winnipeg beats them twice in overtime too. So give them credit.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they shut down Draisaitl and McDavid as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they were non-existent. They didn't even show up.
Yeah,
I mean, these announcers, they were saying like how much Winnipeg, their season was over with. I mean, they lost like their last 7 games in a row or whatever. I mean, they had no momentum going into the playoffs, none. And then they come off and sweep Edmonton. That was, probably a favorite to possibly go to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
So they played like they had nothing to lose.
Pretty much. I mean, I had Edmonton in the finals. That bracket's gone.
What's going to be sad is if we're talking about Winnipeg sweeping Edmonton. Watch their next series; they get swept.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, it's happened before, and it's a sad story to see. But it's just like you put all that kind of like, wow, they're a team, they're a contender, and all of a sudden they get swept the next round.
You know what can happen there too, especially if that Montreal-Toronto series goes, say, 6 or 7 games, right? Because that's who they're going to play next.
Yeah,
and Winnipeg's going to be sitting around waiting, and that usually ends up hurting teams in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I mean, with this team coming off the regular season with how cold they were, maybe their cold streak's out of them.
Could be. It could be. I mean, that's but the thing is, we were talking about this about in the middle of the season. If there was a team in that North Division that's built for the playoffs, it was Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
Strong defense, world-class goaltending. They got the offense. It's just, I mean, they just went absolutely ice cold. But maybe you're right, Jeremy. Maybe they got it out of their system. I don't know if you guys did you see any of that last night? I actually felt really sorry for Blake Wheeler. Did anybody see that?
No.
He took a slap shot from Chris Russell of the Edmonton Oilers right to the cash and prizes, and he was just doubled over. Oh my God, that was awful. But you know what? What was it? 3 shifts later, he was back on the ice. I mean, they took him back to the locker room and everything. I mean, that was I mean, as a guy, I almost threw up watching it. It was it was terrible.
I'm ready to throw up listening to you about it.
Let's stop talking about that.
Let's keep moving along. Move the show along. Let me run the timer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to start.
I'm going to start.
So, Jerry, who do you got for the big surprise?
Obviously you can't take out Winnipeg, Edmonton, but I guess I mean, other than that, I'd pick Minnesota and Vegas. I have picked Vegas to lose against Minnesota. I don't know why, but I just kind of liked the underdog. But Minnesota's playing well, and I think that Vegas may have overlooked them.
Okay, could be. Even though last night, by all rights, Vegas should have won that game. I mean, they outshot Minnesota like 4-1.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of these games, if you like, now they're keeping the shot track on MS or NBCSN and everything else, and you're watching these overtime games and you're looking at the shots and you're looking at the score and you're going, is this right? Like, I think the other night there was a team that had 23 shots in the first or the third period, and the other one had like 47, and you're going, but the game's tied. You're looking at it going, this doesn't make any sense. But
exactly.
I mean, it's like, the Nashville-Carolina series. That's one of those games where you have the high shots and one team has a low shot. And that's another series that's just, okay, Nashville all of a sudden came to play out of nowhere.
Yeah, and UC Saros has been incredible in that series.
Oh, he's been insane.
And speaking of incredible, and games that maybe should have gone the other way there, Doctor, your Islanders, holy mackerel, if it wasn't for Ilya Sorokin last night, he was absolutely on fire.
Well, the first thing is he is the real deal. So whatever they do this year, they're looking bright in the future as far as goaltending. You can't take that away from them. So that's exciting. And on paper, Pittsburgh should have won the game. But I could also say I think the Islanders played a better game in Game 3 and could have won that game, and they lost. So
right,
valid point.
I think watching that series, I think the Islanders have outplayed Pittsburgh every game.
Right.
I mean, they're just. I mean, Malkin is just not there right now. He's not playing well. Crosby is like a non-factor. I mean, Tanev is flying around the ice, hitting everybody.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, that was a good pickup for them.
Like I watched him last night, and the whole series, he's in the penalty box a lot. I never remember, So if he gets a goal or a point, it's kind of offset because he's in the penalty box 6 minutes of game. So
right, yeah.
Right.
Do you think they're being outplayed or outcoached? Meaning the Penguins.
I think they're getting out goaltended.
That's the
To
key.
be perfectly honest with you, I'm actually surprised they didn't do something about their goaltending at the trade deadline. I mean, let's be honest. Tristan Jarry or Casey DeSmith are not, Stanley Cup winning goaltenders. Let's be honest.
Right. I mean, that play he made, I don't know what he was thinking.
With the Bailey?
I mean, he just put that right up the middle. I mean, like, why you're taught in might hockey, don't ever throw the puck up the middle. Don't throw the puck up the middle. And he just, I mean, he didn't do it blindly. I mean, I don't think he saw him, but I mean, if as a goalie or as anybody, if you're going to put it up the middle, you better put it 8 feet off the ice and make sure nobody can get it.
Yeah. I mean, he might as well put a little bow on that puck before he did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scotty, the last thing I'll say about the Islander goaltending, I find the series interesting on how Sorokin, every game he's in, he's won, and Varlamov has lost. And you don't often see your starter, which was Varlamov, you don't see a goalie play, then the other guy too, and then another guy too. I'm not used to that. It's kind of awkward the way it's happened out. Now it's worked out, but I think that's kind of interesting considering Varlamov is really the go-to guy, I would have thought.
You know what, Keith? I think that part of it is Varlamov wasn't expected to be as good as he was this year. I mean, he's always been a good goaltender, right? But I mean, he was like Vezina level for most of this season. So that, I'm sure, surprised the heck out of the Islanders because if you recall, they finally got Sorokin to come over on the promise that he was going to get playing time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden Varlamov goes lights out,
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why they let what's his name go.
Grice.
Right. Exactly. So, but either way, it's good. It's working out for them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a chance to wrap it up tomorrow night. So, Brian, how about you? You got any surprise that you noticed?
Well, just a few comments on what everybody's been saying, and you talk about the Islanders in their situation. It's almost identical to what the Maples have this year. We saw the decline of Freddie Anderson, who was a top-notch goalie in the league for a long time, and we saw the rise of basically an unknown guy named Jack Campbell, and he's outplayed Freddie basically all season, even though Freddie's been hurt. Jack's been hurt too, but I think we're starting to see a changing of the guard in the NHL, so to speak, and when it comes to goaltenders anyway. And then getting on to the Vegas and Minnesota series, and basically if you look at the regular season, pretty much owned Vegas. And I think they're carrying, well, they haven't owned them really, but they've played very well against them, and I think they're going to beat Vegas in their series. So, was really no shock to me when it comes to what they're doing now. They missed some key players down the stretch, and that helped their losing streak along a little bit. But you got Nikolai Ehlers coming back, and what does he do the other night? But he pops in too, including the game winner. And so, boys, the cream is coming to the top. I never thought much of the Oilers this year. I know they had great players, but after that, the talent level slides quite a bit after those two, Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you, my big surprise was that the Caps just got wiped out by the Bruins the way they did. I really thought I thought the Caps were going to win that series, to be honest with you, but they just collapsed. And
we said it earlier when we picked the teams that they're old.
Yeah,
they're an old team, and they did. It's not like they got any younger by picking up Zdeno Chara.
No, not even in dog years.
I mean, they got longer, sure, because you got a guy that's 7 feet on the ice, but he's just we all said it when we were picking the teams to go, and as much as I cannot stand Boston, that perfection line was just too much for Washington. They had no answer. And it showed.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of the 16 goals that Boston scored in that series, one member at least of the perfection line was in on 9 of them.
Yeah.
So there it is right there. You're right. The Caps are an old team. I thought they had one more run in them, but I got a feeling when that fall in Washington comes, it's going to come in a hurry because they are getting very long in the tooth, so to speak. But speaking of Washington, so what was it, Game 4? That double overtime game where they lost a heartbreaker. It was kind of a miscommunication behind the net where Caps defenseman Justin Schultz lost the puck. Samsonov appeared to not know it, and the game-winning goal got snuck by him. And Alex Ovechkin screaming at him from the bench after the game. I didn't like it personally. Apparently he was yelling at him in Russian, and it was basically "don't sleep" explicitive is what the translation was. But I want your guys' thoughts on it. What do you think, Jeremy?
Of Ovi yelling at him?
Yeah.
Heat of the moment. I've done it. I've done it not to our goalie now that we play with, but our previous goalie that we played with. It's a heat of the moment type thing. Obviously, we all know that Ovi runs at a whole other level when he's playing, especially in playoffs. He'll let his feelings be heard. It's terrible that we saw it and how it was portrayed. But I'm sure in the locker room after, calming down, he probably got a cooler head and said, listen, you know what? We all make mistakes, which we don't see. So I'm okay with it just because I know Ovi's that type of player that's going to have that outburst. And, rightfully so because he plays the game so hard.
How about you, Keith?
Well, I also think, to echo what you said, Scott, he probably sees the window of opportunity closing too. He's up there. The Caps are up there. Like you said, they probably could have had another run in them this year. But that window is closing on that whole Stanley Cup era, if you will, the one that they won. But I can't help but wonder, and I'm not bringing this back to the Islanders, but would that have happened if Barry Trotz was there? That's a question I had in my mind.
It's a good point.
I had to think about that. Like, what is the atmosphere and the culture of the team? You're absolutely right when you say, in the heat of the moment. Well, maybe that's their culture. Maybe they talk like that during practice. Now, just because all these fans saw it, you don't know. I always tell people when I hear things at school, you don't know what's going on behind somebody's walls, and what they bring to school and everything. So who knows what's embedded in that whole situation? The only reason I would have been a little against it is he is viewed as the captain, and I would think the captain is supposed to motivate and inspire. But maybe that's their culture on how to motivate and inspire. So, like you said, we're not there. We're not in the locker room. We don't know, maybe that's his way of, trying to get that guy back on. Maybe that guy needs that kind of hard level of treatment. So it's hard to say.
And from what I've been reading, I guess there has been some tension in the Capitals locker room as far as Samsonov goes because of all the time he missed because he wasn't adhering to the COVID protocols and everything else that's going on. So I get that frustration too, but you know why I didn't like it, and I get heat of the moment. I understand that they just lost a heartbreaking game. You guys make very valid points where maybe he sees the window closing. Absolutely, I understand that completely. But you're the captain of the team, right? And regardless of what's going on behind the scenes, those cameras are on, and they're showing you all over the world screaming at your goaltender, who, by the way, played a phenomenal game. If anybody watched that game, the puck was in Samsonov's end for most of that double overtime.
Yeah.
I think the Cavs had like 5 shots on goal total. So the guy was getting peppered. He played a great game and he made a boneheaded mistake. Okay, I get it. And hey, you don't like the guy because he did this, he did that. Okay, I get it. But yell at him in the locker room. You know what I mean? To me, it's just a bad look. Because I think, Brian, you were saying that earlier, that you didn't like it for that reason, right?
Exactly. You're a leader of the team if you've got the C on your shirt, So, be the leader and take the player aside. Don't embarrass him in front of his peers. Don't embarrass him in front of a national audience. And then, say, you had a terrible, terrible play at the end there. And we need you mentally in the game for the whole 60 minutes plus. This is a playoffs. This isn't, this isn't regular season. So, yeah, I just thought, I'm sure maybe some of the players on the Capitals probably saw that. Well, I know they saw it. And they're saying to themselves, well, we're one mistake away from Ovi embarrassing us on national TV or something like that, and that's something that a captain shouldn't do.
That's a great point. How about you, Gump? What'd you think?
Well, the thing of it is, I think Ovi got caught more or less. Probably 5 or 6 other guys on the bench are probably feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's the captain, because he's the guy that's always in the limelight, he more or less got caught. And like I think it was Dave said later on, or not Dave, what you call it?
Right.
Huh? No.
But I'm watching your thumb going crazy over here.
Because I can't see the thing. That Jeremy there was what he said that. I lost my train of thought, but he said that.
Jeez,
he
tracks are rusty as hell, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. I had about took a nap while I was waiting for my turn, but anyway, he just got he was hot, got mad, but because he's such a high profile player, he got caught and he, like you said, well, what are you gonna do?
It is what it is. It's over with now.
Yeah, you guys don't know that old Dad's there. He's got a monitor behind him. He keeps turning around and talking to, and nobody's listening to him.
Well, no, I can't. Just behind me, I can't see that thing. Hi, guys.
He doesn't understand. He can wave at him, and I have to have the camera on him too. But
I mean, on that one, so I can see all of them.
We deserve an Emmy just for that alone.
I know. Good Lord.
Like everybody said. I mean, yeah, he is the captain. He probably should have kept a cooler head, but I mean, he is. If you think of all the captains in the league, he's probably the most vocal. He's probably the most physical, and he's probably the one that is constantly going, no matter what. He wants perfection. He wants perfection out of everybody on every play, every second, at every moment. And if you don't get it, you're going to get them. And, terrible look, sure. But, it happens.
And like I said, I totally understand all that. I guess I just didn't like it because of the whole circumstances around it.
Yeah.
It's not like they were doing anything to help Samsonov out. But like I said, it's over. Nothing you can do about it now.
Right.
So we're going to move on to just a couple of quick news tidbits here, and then we're going to end the segment. Halfway across the world in Riga, Latvia, the IAHF Championship Tournament has begun. Team USA is 2-1, while our friends in the North, Team Canada, has struggled so far with an 0-3 record. They still have time to turn it around, though. I was going to have Barry talk about this because Barry's got some real good insight to this, but he's not here tonight. So let's just say keep watching the games on the NHL Network. They've been interesting. They're really, especially on that Olympic ice, that 200 by 100. It's a crazy game to watch. It just
we smoked Canada. I mean, I watched that game, and it was literally watching I don't even know what happened. I mean, I know USA Hockey's been getting better. That's what we've been saying for years. We're getting better, and we're going to end up beating Canada. But I mean, we manhandled Canada, from start to finish. We just completely own that game. And
Well,
like you said, that sheet's very interesting to watch the play on.
It sure is. And this tournament's kind of crazy too, because you don't know who you're going to get for players, because it all depends on who didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
So interesting. Anyways, and the last bit of news here, Wayne Gretzky, it was announced today, has stepped down as vice chairman of the Edmonton Oilers. Everybody went crazy about that at first, and then it was revealed a couple hours later that he will be joining TNT's coverage of the NHL next season. He's going to be the lead analyst in the studio. So that'll be interesting to see what the Great One sees and thinks about what's going on in the ice. I see him as kind of like a Tony Romo.
I hope not.
No, Romo's great in the booth.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
No, Jeremy.
Yeah,
come on now.
Romo's about as good as John Madden.
Oh, gee, no way.
Wow.
Romo's awesome. Come on.
Man.
Jesus, Jeremy.
I have to teach you people sports.
Jeremy, it's the little things, all
I
right?
I am the professor, so I will.
I could school you, son. I'm twice your age.
And that's saying a lot. Oh, man. Hey, Keith, just tell me we're going to get Butch Goring in, right?
He's not bad.
I like Butch.
He
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, he's good. I mean,
like him.
It's not the old days with Ed Westfall. Remember, what was it, 1918?
Yeah.
Whatever. Oh my God.
Eddie and Jigs McDonald.
I like Jigs McDonald. Whatever happened to him?
Absolutely.
Oh, how funny.
Oh.
Hey, I got a question quickly. Whatever happened with Gretzky and ownership of the Coyotes?
He just kind of sold that off.
Yeah, he pushed
He kind of silently got away from it all.
Okay. Yeah, it was quiet.
Yeah. Then he bought a $20 million mansion in California. So
and just,
there you go.
Just sold it. And just
Exactly. I wish I could have bought it. Yeah, right.
Now he's selling it.
Not in California.
Yeah, right. No. So, anyways, we're going to end this segment as we always do with Website of the Week. Website of the Week is brought to you by 315hockey.com. 315hockey.com is your news hub for all levels of hockey in Central New York. This week's Website of the Week is hockeythenandnowblogspot.com. This is another fun little hockey history website with all kinds of tidbits from hockey's glorious past. So we're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to take a ride on that Zamboni Time Machine. See you in a few.
Need to find that gift for someone special? Visit Little Falls Presents at the Stone Mill and Canal Place. Stop by today to find unique artist work, T-shirts, coffee cups, gift towels, greeting cards, tote bags, koozies, and original oil paintings and prints. It's all about the art of the gift. For more information, visit mylittlefalls.com/shop or call 315-508-5310 for details.
And we're back with segment 3 of Marty's Illegal Stick, the Zamboni Time Machine. The Zamboni Time Machine is brought to you by Zamboni.com, and the Zamboni name is used with permission from the Zamboni Company. This week, the Zamboni Time Machine takes us back to 1967 and the NHL debut of Derek Sanderson. Prior to making his NHL debut, Sanderson played junior hockey for the Niagara Falls Flyers, who, along with the Oshawa Generals, were the top junior hockey teams owned by the Boston Bruins. Junior hockey was set up much differently back then. Playing for the Generals was a defenseman named Bobby Orr, who was on the fast track to become a superstar and a legend. In a game between the two teams, Sanderson started a fight with Orr just to make an impression on Bruins management. It must have worked, as he made his Bruins debut the following season. Sanderson was an immediate hit in Boston. He was the poster child of the late 60s party lifestyle, with his long hair and his reputation for having a drink in one hand and a beautiful woman in the other every night. He was also a great hockey player, as he would win the 1968 Calder Trophy as the NHL Rookie of the Year with 24 goals and 25 assists. Sanderson himself was on his way to becoming an NHL superstar. Sanderson and Orr obviously did not let their junior hockey fight get in the way of future success, as they were a part of the core that would lead the Boston Bruins to a Stanley Cup championship in 1970. The cup-winning Superman goal that Orr scored was set up by Sanderson. In most pictures of the goal, you can't see Sanderson standing in the corner. So whenever he signs a picture of that goal, he draws an arrow pointing to where he was standing, which I thought was kind of cool. After the first cup win, Derek Sanderson had become the Joe Namath of hockey with their very similar lifestyles. Namath actually owned a nightclub in New York City called Bachelor's 3. The NFL did not like this one bit and wanted Namath to sell it, but instead Namath offered Sanderson part ownership of a Bachelor's 3 to be opened in Boston, to which Derek jumped at the chance. Bachelor's 3 in Boston was 2 doors down from the Playboy Club. So to entice the Playboy Bunnies to his club in their off time, Sanderson let them drink for free. Suffice to say, Bachelor's 3 became the hottest spot in Boston, and Sanderson indulged in the spoils. The Bruins would win the cup again.
Indulged in the spoils.
You like that?
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
The Bruins would win the cup again in 1972. And then Sanderson would sign the richest contract in pro sports with the Philadelphia Blazers of the WHA. It didn't last long, as halfway through the first season, the Blazers gave Sanderson $1 million just to return to the Bruins. The hard partying lifestyle had taken its toll, and Sanderson's play fell off. By 1978, he was addicted to alcohol and drugs, and he was out of hockey. Living on the streets, he realized that he had bottomed out. Sanderson got himself into rehab and has been clean and sober ever since. He is now an accountant who helps other pro athletes manage their money. There is much more to this story than we presented here. For the unfiltered version, check out Sanderson's book, Crossing the Line, that he wrote with Kevin Shea. And that, my friends, concludes this week's trip on the Zamboni Time Machine. Now, I got to ask, because we talked about this a little bit earlier. Now, Gumper here was stationed in Boston, or in that area, during the 70s, correct?
Yes, I watched a lot of hockey in Boston Garden, watched Sanderson and Orr and Esposito and all the rest of them.
But you didn't get the Bachelor's 3.
No, but I went to the Playboy Club a lot.
Well,
2 doors down.
Even better.
It was only 2 doors down.
Yeah.
Did you?
By the time I left there, I couldn't walk to the other bar.
Did you indulge in the spoils?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I got married in 72, so late 71 was a different story.
Scott, who's your daddy?
Boston was a fun town. Well, Bobby Orr owned a bar called the Branding Iron down there.
Oh, yeah?
And that was really cool, too. That was a nice place.
Was that by a Playboy Bunny Club?
No.
Oh.
No.
It's funny that you were reading that story, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I go, man, this man sounds like Joe Namath. And then all of a sudden they went in on partners on something. I'm like, wow, that couldn't have been any better.
I didn't know he went that far down the tube zone.
Oh yeah.
I want to read that book. I gotta get that.
Yeah, it's I've been reading extra. It's really something. I mean,
I'd like to read that because I said, I watched him play, and he was, but he might even run Duguay between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite incredible how far down he fell and how he came back. So it's an inspirational story to say the least. Yep. And I can't believe he didn't get the Bachelor's 3, but that's okay. Another story for another time. Well, we are just about out of time here on Marty's Illegal Stick. Brian Mack, I want to thank you once again for coming on. You were a fantastic guest, and you are welcome back anytime, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. It was great meeting you guys. I really enjoyed the time I spent with you, and have a good week.
You too, buddy. We'll see you at the Rink of Dreams sometime. All right, so signing off for today. Absolutely. So for Gump Leo Kinville, for Dave the Save Warner, for Jeremy Roberts, the professor, and for the Doctor of Hockey of Keith Levatino, I'm Scott Kinville. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.